guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a best bitter. I'm going to focus more on the underletting technique that I use for these all-in-one brewing systems today. So it might not be a long video. Just so you know about what we have 3.7 kilos of Maris Otter, 252 grams of crystal, and 252 grams chocolate malt. We have target at the start of the boil, 21 grams. 20 minutes we have 16 grams each of East Kent Goldings and Fuggles, and in the last 5 minutes again East Kent Golding and Fuggles, 30 grams each. That's pretty much all we have. We're aiming for 4.4%, mashing at 66 degrees. So I'm getting the water is going to go up to about 71. I'll dough in, showing you my method, and adjust the temperature accordingly with the system. So this one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to dough in, and then I'm going to, once I've given it the final stir and I'll put the top plate on, I'm going to take the kids into town for lunch. So it's going to be a nice long mash, probably 90 minutes, then I'll come back and do the boil this evening. So the other thing I'm doing here, which might affect the way I do my underletting, is that I'm going for a full volume mash. Now I'm totally winging it. I normally do 32 to 33 litres, so I've literally just done 32 litres in there. If it works, it works. If not, well, my volumes will be slightly out, the ABV will be slightly different. I don't think the flavour or anything will be affected too much, so I'm just going to do it. I've got the adjustable malt pipe, which means it doesn't matter how much water's on top, but I will put the top plate on, and I'll show you how I do it, because I normally pull the grain basket out a bit so that the level of the water is at the level of the grain bed, so that there's not grains and stuff floating around when I'm trying to put the top plate on. But I'll show you all that in a bit. First I'm going to show you me just putting the grains in. I've put some paper underneath the malt pipe because a lot of fine dust comes out the bottom, and I just chuck that back in to the top. So anyone who's had an all-in-one system, you know the little dent needs to go up towards the middle. Literally just chuck in the grain. Right. Nice crush on that, and it's all ready to go. Okay, so we're at 71 degrees Celsius now. I'm going to point you down towards the pot. Hopefully you don't get too steamed up. Okay, so just lower it very slowly. As soon as it hits the water level, you will have the resistance of the water surface, so it doesn't feel overly heavy. You can just let it slowly sink in. I'm not sure if you can notice, but the level of the grain does rise. Make sure that this middle thing isn't rising out, the overflow pipe, because that's the bit that means that the bottom grate is raising up. Yep, I can feel it's wet there. It's nearly in. Okay. Then I pick up the 2 bits of paper that I had placed there. Don't want to waste any of the good stuff. So a lot of the time this, there's a big one. A lot of the time this grain bed is considerably less liquid because this is a full volume mash. But again, it's the exact same principle. I think this might make it a little bit harder to get the proper mixture in because there's so much water. It actually causes a problem with dough balls. But still, I find this a lot easier than trying to hold a bag of grain with one hand and pour while trying to stir with the other. And I'll keep doing this for about 5 minutes in the hope that I'll find a couple of dough balls. At the moment, there's not very much though. So I will pause the video there and then I will come back to show you how I put the top plate on. Okay, so we're fully doughed in now. Can't find any more dough balls. I did find a couple in here, but as you can see the water to grain ratio, because I'm doing a full volume mash, the water to grain ratio is skewed by that. So instead of having sort of 2.5 litres of water per kg of grain, so you'd end up with about 10 litres of water. I've got 30 litres of water in here, so it's far too much, which means that when your sugars start to convert, they can potentially not convert properly into fermentable sugars, or your efficiency could just be low. So what I do is I very slowly raise the grain basket out. And I let that sit on top of the grain bed. Now once I put it back in, because the grain's all wet, it should all just soak back in quite rather nicely. You'll see the water coming back up through. Now what will happen, this will raise up ever so slightly, but then gravity will push it back down, and then what that does is it keeps the water to grain ratio in the grain bed exactly where it wants to be. Okay, now that we're in, I'll start the recirculation. Already, look at the color on that. Oh! So what I'll do now, I'll recirculate this. I'll start really slowly. I always start my recirculations really slowly, so that it doesn't compact the grain bed down too much. What I want to do is I want to start the flow of water or wort through the grain bed. Try and make that nice and level. Yeah, get that going through the grain bed, and then I'll slowly speed it up. I'll give it probably half an hour in the middle where there's no flow, and then the last half hour again I will get the flow going. So that is how I underlet into one of these systems. Hey guys, so we're back. We've just finished the mash. We did a 90-minute mash, which gave us the opportunity to go into town and have some lunch. I got back and the mash temperature had dropped to 61 degrees, which is quite a bit below the 65, 66 target. I'm hoping that it's not the grain bed itself, because I think, as you know, these systems, there's an inner piece and then there's the water around it. So perhaps it was more like 63 or something like that. It's already back up. I just put the recirc back on and it's already back up to 66. And I'll just let that run for a little while. I'm going to give it another 2 minutes probably. Put it to the boil. Once it gets to 75 degrees Celsius, I'm going to pull the malt pipe out, let it drain, chuck the grains and get to the boil. Okay, so we're up to 75 degrees Celsius. I've been recirculating, just turned the pump off now. Just let it drain there for a little while and then lift it up higher. Okay, we've achieved the boil. So now we're doing 21 grams of target. And as it's leaf hops, I am going to put them in a hop bag. This is my old brew in a bag bag. And the countdown begins. 20-minute hot drop. 15 minutes yeast nutrient. Rotafloc tablet. Okay, so 5-minute hop drop coming up. That is the 30 grams East Kent Golding and 30 grams Fuggles. Okay, that's flame out. I'm going to get the hop bag out, give it a whirlpool, put the lid on, give it 10 minutes to just calm down, then I'm just going to transfer it using this pipe here straight into the fermenter hot. Put it in the fridge and pitch the yeast tomorrow. Okay, so that's the hop bag out. Put whirlpool. It looks as though I've hit the 25 litres bang on, so I'm happy with that. Then I'll transfer that later. Okay, that's all settled in there now, so it's literally just a matter of, I'll start it off nice and slow. It's very, very dark. A bit darker than last time I made it, but you know, a nice dark bitter. So that, yeah, like I said, that will go in the fermentation fridge tonight, and tomorrow morning that should be just about ready. 22 degrees, whatever. I'll pitch the yeast, try and get it down to 20 before fermentation kicks off too much, and then normal process after that. So guys, thanks for following this one, and I'll see you on the next one.